can't hold me back, you can't hold me down. Put me in the game, gotta get it right now. Whoa, on me, you know I'm the one and only. All them other ones is phony. Moving like a drum, I'm on beat. Whoa, yeah, you could put the pressure on me. I ain't never getting cold feet. Straight top where I'm gon' be. I got no time to debate. I put my reps in like every day. I keep it moving, I don't like the way. I just keep adding these wins to the play. I ain't worried about a setback. With a loss, I'ma get back. Going up on a jetpack. All the haters, you can sit back.
Welcome in, guys, to literally our last team preview for the 2023 team previews from Fantasy Six Pack. I'm Mike LaPlant. With me to finish off this glorious playlist of videos for you guys is Jordan. How's it going, man?
Doing good, man. You know, I had to bust out that Seattle special for this one.
Oh, yeah. I like that hat. Old school. So, you know, before we jump into it, though, you got to like and well, you don't have to, but we really appreciate it, guys. Like and subscribe, you know, to our YouTube channel. You know, if you want to get notified for our videos, hit that notification bell, and then that way you'll know when any of our videos come out. And then, you know, make sure, you know, if you want to get good, you know, fantasy football advice, make sure you go to fantasysixpack.net/plans and then sign up for our award-winning you know, all access membership plan. And then if you want to get a discount, like, you know, I love to do, use that promo code F6PNFL for 15% off. And then, you know, you get, you know, access to our draft cheat sheet that just came out for the fantasy football people. And then you get our projections. And then the best part about it is you get custom league advice in our Discord. You get access to, you know, Jordan, me, Joe, Keith, everybody over there. Dave's, you know, big in DFS content, but we got you covered pretty much in all these spectrums of fantasy sports. But, you know, let's move on here to our Seattle Seahawks team preview here. And, you know, we're going to jump into the quarterbacks. And, you know, kind of to the surprise of everyone last year, you know, we all thought, you know, Drew Lock might take over the starting position over Geno Smith. You know, it's still the same two guys, but we were wrong. Geno Smith came out and he balled, guys. Yeah, I mean, is that, you know, a true 30-plus-year-old breakout, or is he just kind of the obvious flash in the pan? Are we not going to be seeing what we saw last year from him?
So, I mean, you kind of had like a tale of two halves almost. Like that first 8-9 weeks, like, man, he was on a freaking heater. Like, he was up there playing as good as anybody in the league. Then you come to that second half of the season, he kind of slowed down a little bit. Like, he was still solid, but he definitely took a big step back compared to where he started the year. I think this year he'll kind of meet in the middle somewhere there. He's not going to be that guy he was the first half, but he's not going to be as up and down as he was that last half of the season. He's a guy that if he's your quarterback too in like a super flex league, I think you're feeling fantastic about it, especially because he probably isn't costing you much to draft him where he's going right now. You know, you look at what he did last year, almost completed 70% of his passes on 572 attempts. 4,200 yards, had 30 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions, and then kicked in another 366 yards on the ground. So, I mean, he was productive. As long as he's healthy, I don't see any reason why he doesn't continue to do something similar to what he did last year. Added even more weapons this year on top of what they already had. Didn't really lose anybody major. I think for quarterback too, man, he's up there near like the best bargains and best values you can get.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like as he said, the league wrote him off, but he didn't write back.
Right.
So we'll move on to the running backs then for the Seahawks. And we got Kenneth Walker III, the rookie last year. And then, you know, Pete Carroll had to ruin all of our dreams with him and go and draft Zach Charbonnet this year. And then we got DJ Dallas and Kenny McIntosh, another late-round running back they drafted this year. I don't understand what they're doing. But, you know, just an outstanding rookie season, like we said, for KW3 last year. Zach Charbonnet getting mixed into the bunch. You get Kenny McIntosh also might be getting some touches in there. I mean, how do you see this playing out between, you know, realistically, between Charbonnet and Kenny Walker, who's going to get majority of the touches here?
Yeah, first, I just have to comment. It is kind of funny when you look at, like, now after, you know, Kenneth Walker, they turn around, use another second rounder. Like, in my mind, they're just thinking, like, Rashad Penny, Chris Carson, like, we can't get as many as we can get right here. But as far as how it's going to break out this year, I think it's going to be pretty close to, like, a true timeshare by the end of the season. I think Kenneth Walker, the first few weeks, is really going to have the full stranglehold on the job, but he's a very physical runner. Like, I don't think he can really hold up for 300 touches a year playing the way he does. So I think bringing in Charbonnet is actually going to be good for him. I think he may go down a little bit on his touches, but he's going to be a lot more efficient with it. Kenneth Walker, I still think he's going to finish as like a back end running back one. Charbonnet, I think he's going to be a flex play this year. Really, really liked him coming out of college. I think he's going to be awesome in this offense. He's probably going to be the pass catching back right away. And I mean, once he gets the ball, like, he's good enough to run in between the tackles. He can just catch the ball as well. So I think it's going to be a really potent backfield. And then to make it even more frustrating, Kenny McIntosh, man, he should not have slipped as far as he did in the draft. He's another guy that can come in on third downs and play the passing downs. One of the better pass blockers coming out of this class. So it's going to be a little bit of a mess for fantasy. I think there's going to be some inconsistent weeks, but a lot of production has come out of this fantasy backfield. It may just be a little bit tricky trying to pick which one it is.
Yeah, and then out of Kenny McIntosh and DJ Dallas, I mean, do you think either of those guys get in the mix as well, or is it just a two-headed monster here with Charbonnet and Walker?
For the most part, I think it's just going to be a two-headed monster unless somebody gets hurt. I mean, is there a better 1-2 running back punch in the league than Walker and Charbonnet? If Charbonnet is even like 80% of what we think he's going to be, I think McIntosh will kind of be like that guy that fills in, just give guys a breather a little bit there. I think he's going to contribute on special teams more so. DJ Dallas, I'm not too worried about him figuring in too much unless there's injuries. I think it's going to be Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet, and then a little bit of McIntosh sprinkled in, just kind of keep them fresh.
All right, and then let's go to the wide receivers here for the Seahawks, and this is where a lot of people found a lot of value last year.
Yeah.
In DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But then, like I said, Pete Carroll has to go and ruin everybody's fun, and then they go and draft Jaxon Smith-Njigba, which, I mean, it's only ruined fantasy football's fun for DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett owners.
Geno Smith owners love it.
That is true. Because Geno Smith is the biggest beneficiary out of this group.
Mm-hmm.
But, Smith-Njigba was the number one wide receiver in pretty much everyone's draft board this year. I mean, how does he fit into this wide receiving core that's already pretty deep going into his rookie year?
Oh, man, he's so good. I think that it's going to be a little bit of a slow burn. I think the first few weeks, maybe even be a little bit of a buy low window that opens up, just because, I mean, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, they're both really good receivers. Tyler Lockett's one of the most underrated guys. Every single year he outproduces his ADP. So I think to start, especially while the Seahawks are kind of really trying to reestablish and prove that last year wasn't a fluke, I think that it could be a little bit up and down. But second half of the season, I think you're going to see a huge breakout come up from Smith-Njigba. By the end of the year, I think he's going to be pretty clearly the second option behind DK Metcalf in this offense. And the biggest detractor to that's going to be Tyler Lockett. I think he's going to be one that loses a little bit. Still going to be that deep threat that has a few good plays a game, but I think that he's going to be the one that loses out the most just with how talented JSN is.
All right, so you're pretty much telling me that, Tyler Lockett is kind of the odd man out. He's going to pretty much, I mean, I'm not, not black and white, but he's going to be the guy that kind of fades out this year.
I think so. I do. I think so. And it's not just his playing style. I think that, like, if you bring in JSN to kind of work the underneath routes, DK Metcalf, physical beast on the outside, it's going to leave things wide open a few times a game for Tyler Lockett to slip behind the defense and do what he does best. Best ball. Love Metcalf and best ball, or Lockett and best ball, but could be a little bit frustrating second half of the season for redraft, just like regular redraft leagues.
And then just, kind of a fun little question here. Is there a more talented top three wide receiving, room in the league than Metcalf, Lockett, and Smith-Njigba?
I mean, the Bengals are close, but there are three. They got their Boyd, Higgins, Chase. Outside of that, I mean, I think you could make an argument for Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill for like top two, but as far as top three, I don't know if there's a more talented room. As long as JSN is 75% of what I think he's going to be, I think it's pretty clearly the best group of three receivers in the league right now.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. It's the Bengals and the Seahawks for probably the most talented wide receivers. So let's go on to probably the least talented part of this offense, which really it's not that, not that, bad, because you got Noah Fant. He is a former first-round pick. You got Will Dissly. He's got experience as a tight end, and you got Kobe Parkinson. They've all been used in this offense.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, they basically all got used. I mean, so could you expect any one person, maybe Noah Fant, to step out this year, or is it just going to be the same old go-around as last year?
Oh, I mean, it's so tough. I mean, you look at, like, the tight end position altogether last year, pretty good. Noah Fant 486 yards, Parkinson 322, Will Dissly 349. Altogether, they combined for 9 touchdowns. If you could roll that into one tight end, that's a pretty damn good tight end right there. But who gun to your head? Who do you think is the week 1 starter here? This tight end group. Noah Fant, Dissly. I think Parkinson could play a role there.
I lean Noah Fant just because he's the former first-round pick.
He's the most.
They traded for him
Mm-hmm.
in that Russell Wilson trade, and if I remember correctly, when they did trade for him, reports came out that they were originally targeting Noah Fant in the draft he came out in. It's just he got drafted before their pick, so they, from everything I remember, they wanted Noah Fant. And they finally got him. So I gun to my head, I think it's Noah Fant that starts week 1. But I agree with you to the point where it's, this is a run first team. And when you're running first, you have 2 tight ends on the field, meaning play action with 2 tight ends running.
Yeah, good point.
For, routes. So, it's not just one guy out there, and it's not like they are having a tight end lineup in the slot like other offenses do. Oh, so
especially not this year.
It's kind of an offense that, me personally, I'm staying away from the tight ends. I like everything, everywhere else you can get some value here. But, tight ends here, as a redraft league, there's just going to be no value. It's going to be impossible to choose who to start.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% there. I think Font's the one if I'm picking somebody, but I don't feel good about it. Don't really want to have to start him, even if it was like a start 2 tight end league. I'd ideally rather go invest in somebody else and not have to try and rely on that.
Yeah, and you're definitely if you punt on tight ends and you're stuck with Noah Fant, make sure you get a 2nd and 3rd tight end as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that pretty much wraps up our last division preview with the Seattle Seahawks. I just want to thank you guys for joining in, for all of our videos, all 32 of them. And if you want to go check them out, repeat them. There's some good information in there.
Yeah.
Just make sure you go to that 2023 fantasy team previews playlist on our YouTube channel. And then while you're there, why not go and like the videos and subscribe to us? Ring that bell if you want to get notified every time we get a video that comes out. That way you can be up to date on all of our stuff. Other than that, for Jordan, I'm Mike. I hope all of you guys have a great rest of your day and good luck in the fantasy football season.
See you.